just had a thought when you mentioned bumping into people, hitting obstacles in life. Mm-hmm. That's of God as well, isn't it? I mean, there is some lesson or something in there.
Well, I believe it's of our journey. And I guess, well, let me look at the process. Like when people talk about their friend that they lost cancer or whatever, and the challenges we went through in fighting their cancer, and they find that God finally took them home. Mm-hmm. I completely disagree. God doesn't take anybody. The spiritual process and the earthly journey is what ends physical life. God receives them. It is not that God takes us and thrusts us into suffering. God provides for us clarity, wisdom, and understanding so that the suffering can transmute and become blessing before we enter it, or we enter it and find ourselves in the suffering and go, holy crap, where's God? And we reach for God, and then so if it's God first, you are God first through the maze and obstacles, witnessing them to the side without bringing harm. If you are world first or spiritual influence first, you are bang, smash, boom, walking into wrong turns of the maze. So again, it's God first. You can see the nature of the maze move with ease. And you're flowing through, and you don't even have to see it because you're moving in such a way that you're governed by the divine. Otherwise, it is the world, and the earthly process and the spiritual influences will take life. They will alter the nature of how your cells reproduce in your body because you're carrying such stress, or you're intaking the improper things, or you're over-consuming alcohols, or you're over-consuming the use of drugs, or you're increasing medication upon your body, or you're relying upon the systems of man, and then you wonder why, oh, I guess God took our brother home. No, the life process took them. God received them, is the way I see it. That's my perception.
Yeah, so yeah, that makes sense. And you know, in the book Alchemy, there's another little section I'd like to read, and it ties in with this. It's really a question of finding the moment of knowledge or awareness, to be aware of what you just described, that it's a receiving by God and not a taking from God, takes that effort and that diligence, that vigilance to be in the moment, to make an effort to be in the moment. And what the book says here is, The Alchemy by Paul Selig, he says, now the moment you sit in, now the moment you sit in is the only moment you may know in. So now the moment you sit in is the only moment you know in, and knowing is realization. To realize love, to realize joy, is to be as joy, as love in the moment you sit in. You know, to me, that describes exactly what you said, just in different words. You know, if you are in a difficult situation and you, like somebody is passing, or there's an illness you deal with, if you can sit in it quietly, you can.
Well, again, when you're talking about like in the moment of somebody's passing, because you know that this is very important within Grace Healing, because we've been dealing with so many people passing over these recent months. People have lost sight through their earthly journey, through their spiritual influences, that life is perpetual. They become distracted by the moment of what they call death instead of seeing it as birth, because their perception has become loss and suffrage instead of blessing and celebration. And as you know, in losing my elder son, it wasn't a tremendous suffrage. It was an initial shock, but God moved me to this place of recognizing God within it. And I was able to honor Christopher's transformation from one form to a new form to serve in the presence of God without veil. But there is a reality that if we can let go of the perceived notions of the past, the fears of the future or the fears without them. What's life going to be without them? Life. Present in the moment would say, it's going to be life. I have been gifted tremendous memories with this beautiful gift in my life. I have been blessed with a tremendous opportunity now to bless them in their journey. And from that, I know that I choose God from this moment forward. Not loss, not sadness, not grief, because I release the spirit of grief, then I welcome in the tears. I sit present in the moment as the tears fall forth, because they fall forth in love instead of suffering. Mm. So it's no longer in a place of sorrow, but I shift to the tears being these beautiful tears of celebration for what he has become, not what I don't have. I begin to move to a place that is God-centered and celebrating the nature of what creation becomes for somebody else, instead of trapped in what I don't get. And it becomes this beautiful recognition that not only do you know there is a God, but you can actually become God in the celebration of life in every encounter that comes forth. You become the nature of God and you begin to speak words of life for what everybody else names as death, but you're calling it the celebration of life, birth into new life. So you're no longer in words that do not propagate and extend the concept of awareness that God is present in all settings, even when it comes to birth into new life. God receives. By that which Yeshua accomplished, God receives all things of a spiritual nature that we release, all the captives that we encounter, like we encounter the spirit of confusion, the spirit of sadness, the spirit of grief, the spirit of whatever. We release these. God receives them. The loved ones that we hold. I also had to look deep within my heart at that time and say, am I going to hold my son prisoner to the life that I have upon this earth? Or am I going to love him so much that I relinquish entirely unto God so that he can be God without Larry's ties to him? That is the love that I believe is present when we embrace first nature God first, not second nature God. Is it becomes, how is this love, how is this moment going to transmute into the fullness of love?
Beautiful. And to recap what you just said, God receives and we release. And I think, you know, to end this discussion here in a minute, maybe we can just recap by giving a recipe or a practice of how can we release. I know we have done that before. You've done that before.
Yeah.
How do we release the captives, those spirits that you mentioned, so that we can have God receive?
Well, to me, it's beautiful that God brought you and I to this conversation the way that we did, because I don't think we've ever really touched upon the first nature, second nature. Mm-mm. So if a person can honestly develop the practice of God first nature, I mean, that simple change of perception from God is my second nature to God is my first nature, then life would unfold differently. So the practice, like you used to say, what are 3 things that we could take from the call or the interview? That first off would be first nature God. Second, to do the spiritual release, because if you do first nature God, you will have discernment in you revealing what's holding you back, or what the impetus is, what the impediment is between you and the blessed result. God first will provide discernment. You will recognize that, oh, I really feel kind of confused. So I sit, first nature God, I breathe. With intention, I release the spirit of confusion. And I welcome in the truth that the first nature God is with me through clarity. So I'm first nature God, I release the spirit of confusion, I embrace holy clarity within its place. I sit for a moment 1 breath or 3 breaths. That's where humanity blows it. These 3 segments within the prayer, the third one is where they blow it all the time. Allowing for the time to be. Not just being a doer, but allowing yourself that place to be as and at one with God's presence. So it is simply first nature God, second release that which is not of God nature, third sit with it and be. Then allow the God perception of the moment to govern your movement, not the fear or anxiety that preceded those 3 steps. And that's where people miss it, is that, like what you and I have defined as the gap moment. It is, oh my God, anxiety, fear, whatever. No, wait. God is my first nature. I release the spirit of anxiety. I release the fears of the future. I embrace the truth that God is with me now. I breathe as one. And that is where I reside. My next movement is going to be moving through the maze without obstacle.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's really not us doing that much. It's not a huge task. It is, like you said, it's diligence. It's almost like a discipline that becomes a habit. And if we practice that, I made some notes here for myself. We have said this many times before, but we say it a little bit different every time. So that's very good.
But one of the things that I really get the sense of is the importance of us owning the reality that we have to strengthen in spiritual fortitude. That means we can't just, the minister said this on Sunday, and we got to take the time to be with the things we know we need to allow for change within us. We need to allow for the point of transmutation. Once something presents, even in a blessed form, we choose God first, and it can become magnified as an even greater blessing if we allow God to manifest its results instead of how we could make it happen. Spiritual fortitude comes with a peaceful trust and a presence and awareness that God can move this to a blessed result. And that's, to me, it is realistically and actually 1 degree off from how we normally live our lives. That's how simple God made it. It's not something where somebody has to flip to go 180 degrees or 720 degrees, do loop-de-loops around the backyard, all kinds of crazy stuff. It is simply 1 degree. I adjust my course. I repent, which was what it originally meant. It didn't mean some guy with a black hat and a Bible beating the daylights out of people with it to repent, repent, repent. It was a simple refinement, adjustment of 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree. And if we can just take that 1 degree response, fear, anxiety, God nature, 1 degree. Let us become God. Let us breathe. I am freed from the spirit of anxiety, freed from the spirit of fear. I embrace the holy remembrance of God's strength within me, and I breathe. So that simple 3 steps can be a powerful way to transmute the day into a day of blessing instead of all the suffrage we can create while we're running around in panic.
Awesome. Maybe Grace Healing will create an app sometime.
That would be awesome.
Right, with a timer.
We should talk to that guy Andreas and see if he has any ideas.
yeah. You know what? This may be a good. Some people just need maybe that trigger at the beginning, and that may be a nice little tool. But anyway, Larry, thank you for sharing, and it was really great conversation. And thank you, listeners, for joining us today and listening to this message. And I just want to remind everyone again, we have quite an extensive library of resources which you can access through gracehealing.org. And there's links in there to our YouTube channel as well. And you can go directly there with gracehealing.video. We have close to 300 videos now. We're constantly trying to find ways how we can structure it in a way that you can find things easier. And I'm sure we're going to come up with new ways to do that. But there's so many things there, and we encourage you to go there, subscribe to our newsletter, which will send invitations out every week for a meditation call we do on Wednesday night. But thanks, everyone.
I want to add an invite to what you just said. You know, I see the amazing amount of work that you do, amazing amount of work that Deb does, and just incredible investment of time that people have put forward, and Pamela and Ina Marie and the efforts that I do each day. We welcome the listener that if anybody wants to help us to categorize segments of how the videos work, if they want to spend time and actually they're gifted in the ability, organizational thought, and bringing things into an order and outline format so that people could access a quicker understanding of how to access a video on a specific subject matter, we welcome your emails to reach out to us. We would love your help if you wanted to do the physical effort to return to Grace Healing in some way, a blessing of your time, a gift of your time, being in the moment and allowing your skills and talents to come forth to help Andreas, to help Deb, to help Ina Marie, to actually get things in a way so people can access them in a time of need. We would be more than happy to receive your help.
Absolutely. Great.
So feel free to go to gracehealing.org or gracehealing.video and take a look at the information, see what's going on. And if you want to participate with this, we would welcome you with open arms and Thanksgiving.
Great. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, everyone. And this is a wrap.
Yes.
Have a good week.
Take care.
Bye.